does it any better than we do. It's your night, your fight, so get it right, baby.
What's up, George?
What's going on, man? I feel like I haven't talked to you in forever. What's going on?
I don't know, man. I've been working pretty hard, pretty tired lately. But yeah, we took last week off. We didn't really have a show last week, so it's been a couple weeks since we hit the airwaves.
Yeah, it has. It just a lot of stuff going on, behind the scenes stuff, but I don't want to bore anybody. But yeah, just a lot of new things going on.
Yep. We have about 30 minutes before our first guest gets on with us, so we have some time to talk about everything. I guess like the latest news would be what the whole Rampage signs with Bellator deal.
Yeah. I don't know. Did you see the did you see any of the press conference stuff today with Bjorn Rebney and Dixie Carter?
No, I didn't. What was all that about?
It was it was like their announcement press conference. You know, after I guess they put out their formal press release yesterday, and then today was the big media press conference call, and interesting stuff from Rampage and Bjorn Rebney. As far as the Rampage signing is concerned, I am a little bit surprised that he thinks pro wrestling is going to be so simple that he can just. He said something along the lines of, "Oh, I only trained for 2 months, so I can just do pro wrestling in between." Well, I don't know. I don't know who's advising him on that, but I don't think that's the best idea. I don't think that a pro wrestler, especially a pro wrestler who's fought MMA and vice versa, would ever suggest something like that, because that's not easy to do, and especially Rampage isn't 21,
Right.
so I'm a little bit surprised about that. I don't know what his role is going to be. If he's going to be actually, but according to them today, is that he's going to he's got a trainer, and he's headed to Ohio Valley to wrestle and all this stuff like that. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting how it all plays out, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as he's thinking it's going to be.
Yeah, maybe not. But one thing she should have down pretty much is the acting portion, right? Because he was Mr. T. He kind of did that. He did okay with that role, so I would think he could probably flip the switch and get into some kind of wrestling character persona pretty easily.
The problem is eventually you have to get in the ring. You can do promos, you can cut promos, no problem. But eventually you have to work in front of you're going to have to work in front of people, and depending on who he's working with, and the obvious thing is going to be to have him and King Mo in a program, in a pro wrestling program where they can literally script everything. But here you've got two guys who are so green in the world of pro wrestling. How do you put a match together with two guys that have virtually no experience? It's going to be challenging.
Did you see that clip from? I think it was from Ohio, right? Was it from Ohio? Of King Mo wrestling?
Yeah, King Mo. Yeah,
on that little some kind of little sideshow wrestling thing, right? The regional show.
Yeah, that's their farm system for where guys go up and they train and kind of cut their teeth there.
Yeah, it was kind of not that great of a performance.
I don't expect a lot out of a guy that has to train for. How can you do both? Literally the opposite. One thing is cooperative, and the other thing is a resisting opponent. You're trying to teach yourself to do two different things, and it's a limited schedule, and that's the whole thing. It's like, well, we got to make it a limited schedule in pro wrestling, because the reality is that you need to train for your MMA fights, because you can get hurt in both. I guess that sounds kind of ridiculous in a sense, but they're going to want to get fully prepared for their MMA fights to get a full chance to win. And if you're working on one, how do you work on the other? How do you recover from both? There's already so much stuff to train: wrestling, boxing, jiu-jitsu, all this stuff, and then now you have to learn something totally new.
Yeah, true. I wonder how much. I wonder how much Rampage deal's worth. Got to be a good little chunk of change.
Well, they gave him a reality show.
Yeah.
Um, that I'm sure that's part of it. They're referring to him as a partner. Again, there's just it's just any way you look at it. They're touting it. Well, he's the highest rated. He was the highest rated tough and things like that. That was also because of the dynamic with Rashad, and it had the UFC machine behind it. There's just a lot of different things going on, and it was also uh, pretty much in the peak of when Rampage's popularity. And
Here's what I think that they have going for them over at Bellator right now is they signed Rampage, who's a huge figure, right? And then they have Randy Couture doing their reality show, like their version of the Ultimate Fighter, whatever that is. I don't really watch Bellator all that much, so I'm kind of removed from that. But do you think that the Spike audience is going to be able to differentiate between the UFC and Bellator differentiate enough for it to make a difference, or are their loyalties going to be to the fighters? I just imagine that those Spike numbers, they didn't follow when the UFC left the network, so you would have to almost consider the majority of those people on Spike that watch MMA, like the more casual fan base who just want to see fights, And I think that if Bellator signs enough of those recognizable faces, that they're gonna do good, dude.
Okay. I agree, and again, it just depends. Rampage is talking about fighting at heavyweight. Like, there's not much of a division in heavyweight. He's got to win. Any way you look at it, you have to win. He hasn't looked that good. He lost his last fight, leaving the UFC. And again, some of the things he was saying during the press conference just sounded a little bit strange to me. He said, I may not win every fight. I don't have to go out there and win every fight. I'm just there to entertain. It's like, no, you really have to win. I mean, because people aren't going to want to pay to see you lose. It's not like. I mean, at a certain point, you do have to win fights. Like, people are just not going to want to, especially if you haven't always endeared yourself to a lot of those fans. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, but I think it's going to be a lot tougher than everyone's making it out to be. But we'll see. Good luck to him. He got a great deal out of it, and that's really all that matters in the end, is that he got the deal that he wanted, that was best for him, and that's really all you can. That's really all that matters at this point. It's not my deal.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, Rampage is a huge star, man. I mean, he really is. He's definitely one of the biggest stars in MMA, and Bellator nabbed him up in the free market. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, it is. The other thing with that they said during the press conference that was really interesting was that Bjorn said that he didn't sign Czech Congo.
Yeah, I read that. I guess those rumors are untrue, but I kind of remember hearing rumblings out here in OC that Congo was going to follow Rampage wherever Rampage decided to go. They kind of were on the same page there, so my guess is it's a matter of time that they probably will pick up Congo.
Probably. I was thinking that they're with the same management group. That because of that, maybe it was maybe it was a group deal or something like that. Maybe that was there was some consideration given. I don't know. It's just total speculation on my part. I just kind of randomly thought about it.
Maybe Congo's holding out for his own reality show and a spot on TNA Wrestling too.
Yeah, no, that'd be good. That'd be good. My TV's got subtitles, so we could probably make that happen. The other thing that we should probably and I'm only going to address it in this because it was the last thing that was put up was when the rumors of and I say rumors because nobody actually ever confirmed anything from BJ about him returning to lightweight. the the lightweight started jumping out of the woodwork, all challenging him.
Man, that's ridiculous. You know, that Khabib dude, he needs to get a reality check, buddy. Don't start calling out BJ. Here's the thing with that is Ariel Helwani. And Adam, you can go ahead and tweet this stuff out, brother. Ariel Helwani does a great job with what he does, right? But I think sometimes he puts words in fighters' mouths. And I think that unless you hear something from BJ directly, or one of us directly, somebody from BJPen.com, if we actually hear it directly, but if as long as it's a source from BJ, then it's probably not 100% factual. I'm not gonna really talk about it too much, but I believe it to be that if BJ was going to announce a comeback, he would probably do it through me on this radio show on BJPen.com, not through Ariel Helwani. That's just the way we roll on BJPen.com, and that's the relationship we have with BJ, obviously. And I talk to him like almost every day. I'm not saying Ariel Helwani was completely wrong in his report, but I'm just saying, he didn't have any quotes from BJ. It's not like the dude interviewed him. He kind of just, spouted off some stuff that may or may not be true. I'm just going to leave it at that. But yeah, the lightweight's calling him out. That's ridiculous, especially that Khabib dude. And I saw Evan Dunham called him out, or like I'd take a fight with him, and the fans go crazy over that stuff. They're like, "Oh yeah, that fight. Oh yeah." I'm like, give the guy a break.
And really, that's all I'll say to everybody on this one is that for years now we said, if you want to know what's up, just wait for BJ to say it. We've said it over and over and over again, So that's really where it sits at. As far as Khabib and fighters like that, I just thought it was funny because the how could you get a comeback fight to one if even it was the case, let's just say, and that was the fight that think about what kind of sense a fight like that would make, Khabib. It would be difficult to promote because you don't even barely speak any English either. That's the problem. I mean, there's a lot of problems with promoting a fight like that.
And his last fight was absolutely terrible. I mean, that was like I would have rather watched the John Fitch marathon than that fight. So, I mean,
it's not a fight that anybody's going to be clamoring for, and that's just the reality of it. No. But at any rate, we will drift off of that. What I wanted to ask you about was the card this week. That's going to be pretty crazy, man. I've been waiting for that fight. Verdum and Big Nog.
Yeah. I liked how Josh Barnett called Verdum Goofy, right? Didn't he call him like Goofus or Doofus or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Oh, well, I mean...
What do you think about that, actually? Josh Barnett back in the UFC.
I think it's good. I think that... I think that's something that needed to happen.
You think he's going to beat Frank Mir?
That I think it's a closer fight than people think. People are kind of like jumping onto Josh Barnett because he just signed and things like that. But stylistically, you've been watching as many fights as I have for just as long, dude. And when you look at it, neither guy is really any killer on the feet. And both of them have good ground games. One is better from the bottom. One is better from the top. And, that's kind of the fight. And it's one of those fights where whoever is going to kind of push the fight where they want it is probably going to win. I'm thinking it's going to be a decision, too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably going to be a decision.
What do you think? How do you think about the fight?
I don't know, man. I think Josh Barnett's going to win, dude.
Do you?
I mean, I like Frank. I'm pretty sure I talk really highly about Frank whenever I get a chance. He's one of my favorite fighters. Has been since he broke Tim Sylvia's arm back in the day. Josh Barnett. He's kind of just like a freaking freight train. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Frank Mir is a badass too, but Josh Barnett just seems like a bigger, heavier guy. I could be wrong. He just seems like he pushes his will on people a little bit better than Mr. Frank Mir. And that dude's going to be hungry to get a win.
I can see that. He's definitely one of the guys that has been in the trenches in fights and will keep on fighting to the bitter end.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And Frank Mir is definitely not that guy. So if it turns into a dirty, if it turns into a dirty fight, yeah, and people where people just have to, it's a dog eat dog fight. Yeah, that's Barnett's fight. But yeah, I just think that stylistically, from a technical standpoint, it's probably a little bit closer than some people like to make it out to be. But it should be an interesting fight. Who are you picking for Verdum and Big Nog though?
I got Verdum all day, bro.
Yeah. No, not even a chance for Nog there.
No, not even. Honestly, man, I would if I was a betting man, I'd be throwing all my fucking money on Verdum for sure on that one. I wouldn't even bet on any other fight in the card. I'd go Verdum all in.
You think a finish?
I think either a finish or a very one-sided decision. I think the difference is going to be his Muay Thai, man. Like, I don't think either one of those guys is going to go to the ground. I think they're going to stand up, and Nog has good boxing, right? But, man, Verdum, his stand-up's been looking good, bro, with those knees and the clinch and everything that he's putting together lately. I just see, and he's younger, he's faster, he's probably bigger, stronger, and, he's been training over here in OC at King's MMA with, Rafael Cordero, and, dude, I mean, it shows, bro. He's got some aggressive stand-up these days.
Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of favor Verdum based on the fact that he's been a lot more active against good competition too.
I mean, who did he just completely destroy? Roy Nelson, right? Didn't he just completely destroy Big Country?
Yeah,
he did. I don't know, man. I can't get the vision of that fight out of my head because I honestly didn't expect him to win that. I thought Big Country was going to lay those big hands on him and KO him like he's been doing, but Verdum surprised me, man. And ever since that fight, I'm not really willing to go against him.
Didn't Roy come into that fight like sick or something? No, I mean, I'm not trying to give excuses right here, but I always legitimately believe when Roy says he's not good coming into a fight or whatever, because the guy just goes in there and just kind of just throws down. But yeah, as far as this fight's concerned, I do kind of favor Verdum. I think that probably I guess I have a little bit of a little bit of like for Nog just based on history and his history in the sport and things like that. So, but yeah, that's going to be a good fight, and it feels like one I've been waiting for forever now. So
yeah, because they had that reality show, and they had to film that reality show, the Tough Brazil, Tough Brazil 2, and that's over, and so then they fight at the end of it. So yeah, it's been a while, man.
What about I got to ask you this one since we had Fei Zhao and Thiago Silva.
Dude, I don't know. That's it's a tough fight to call. I would have to go Fei Zhao on that, just because I mean that dude is pretty rough, dude, And I think Thiago Silva, although he's very aggressive and he's like a super awesome, fun, exciting fighter, I just think that power-wise, Fei Zhao has the edge there, and when they get into a heated exchange, it's going to be, Thiago Silva's going to be on the bad end of it. I think it's going to be a short fight. I'm thinking round 1.
I'm thinking somebody's definitely getting knocked out in that fight. I don't see how anybody is not going down, like really going down hard in that fight, because those guys throw serious heat.
And I think it's going to be. I think Thiago Silva's going to go down. I hope I'm wrong, and honestly, just because we had him on the show and he's a pretty cool guy. And I'm a fan because the guy, he looks like a killer every time he steps into the cage. That's always fun to watch, Those really, those fighters, right? So, but I just think Fei Zhao's going to win.
Yeah, that's going to be that's going to be a good fight. I feel like I've been waiting for some of these fights forever. I feel like they've just been promoting them, and I've been seeing the ads for them, and I've just been waiting for this fight to go down, and so I'm just ready to see it at this point.
Yeah, me too. What other fights are on that card, George?
There was a couple. There's a bunch of fights in that card. Those are the two ones that kind of stood out to me. But they've also got the um, Eric Silva and Jason High.
That's cool. I want to see Eric Silva fight. I think that John Fitch. He beat him, but I think that kid's really exciting as long as they don't put him in there against a guy like Fitch. Um, he should be entertaining.
Oh yeah, I mean, Eric Silva's he's a hell of a fighter. Um, Even the fight against Fitch,
It was
he came out.
exciting.
He came out there guns blazing. I mean, it was a fight of the night.
Yeah, it was an exciting fight, but that's just the kind. Sometimes you get these guys that just really can't deal with a pressure wrestler like that. Those matchups will always be bad for him, and then I think that for Eric Silva, that's the case. You know.
Yeah, I mean he could end up working. A lot of the Brazilian fighters I've noticed do end up working good defensive wrestling, and they end up. So a lot of them end up pretty good in that area, but we're gonna see how he adjusts. He's still real young, so he's got a lot of time to pick up new skills and things like that.
Yeah.
You know what other fight announcement kind of shocked me was that they gave Kelvin Gastelum and Paulo Thiago as his first fight.
I know. I thought that was an interesting. That was an interesting fight. I think because he beat Uriah Hall, and Uriah Hall had so much hype around him that they're gonna give him somebody with. I mean, Thiago. Let's be real. Paulo Thiago doesn't really have like the best name. I think his one claim to fame is that he knocked out Josh Koscheck in his UFC debut, but outside of that, he's been kind of hit or miss in the UFC.
Didn't he beat John Fitch?
Did he beat John Fitch? I don't know, man.
Yeah, wasn't it John Fitch? I don't quite remember. I'm gonna have to look this up now.
Maybe he did beat John Fitch. But his knockout over Koscheck in his UFC debut, that was really that put this guy on the map.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. He lost to John. He lost to John Fitch. He lost to John Fitch.
Yeah, he's been kind of hit or miss. It's a good fight for Kelvin because it kind of will give us an idea of where he's at. It's not some super dangerous opponent. It's not like a contender in that division, but it's somebody that a lot of UFC fans are familiar with. And again, I think they have high hopes for Kelvin because, like I said, he beat Uriah Hall in the finale, man, and he's the Ultimate Fighting champion. And Uriah Hall has to be one of the most hyped up fighters coming out of that show in a long time, And Kelvin did his thing, so they give him somebody halfway decent. I think he deserves it.
Yeah, I think it's a tough fight, but we'll see what happens. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. He likes to fight on the ground too, but he's kind of one of those Brazilian fighters that will fight on the ground and win those decisions. Yeah, I think he's only been stopped like one time, at least as far as the UFC is concerned. I think I remember like Sayar or somebody knocking him out. But yeah, it's definitely a good name to have under your belt if you pull off the win in your I don't want to say, I guess it's not a UFC debut because technically his finale, but this is really what I consider his real step into the UFC promotion. Get the first fight under your belt and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean that's all they can do. And it's better than a lot. I think it's a better name and a better treatment than a lot of tough winners have been getting lately. So good for Kelvin.
Yeah, no, for sure. The other stuff that went on was the Chael Sonnen replacing, or I guess it didn't end up happening, but the fight's going to go down anyway. Now apparently, Chael Sonnen's going to fight
Shogun.
So,
dude, Chael's the man. If you want a big fight and you're in the UFC, be like Chael Sonnen, bro. You want the big money, you want the big names. You can lose all your big fights, but they still give them to him. Like they don't care. He's like, yeah, Brazilian Shogun, okay, yeah, I'll take that fight on 2 weeks' notice, no problem. Give me that fight, and he just gets them, dude. It's unreal.
Well, the thing is that he's willing to take these fights. The Jones fight, nobody wanted to take it. So he said, "I'll take it," and then so he ended up getting the shot that good for him. As far as Anderson Silva's concerned, he got his second rematch after he won a couple fights. And here we are again. Again, it's not a fight that he was looking for. It's just one that they needed somebody. I'll step in on 2 weeks' notice. Who else is going to do it? The guys that you would think of to do this, like Glover. Glover's the most obvious pick. Is Glover Teixeira, but Glover's injured, so if he can't do it, then you gotta, if he volunteers and wants to take it, but you kind of owe it to the guy to get a camp. So nobody wants to come in there on short notice. 2 weeks notice against even Shogun's a tough opponent, man. 2 weeks notice is just not fair. But we're going to see the fight now. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that fight?
I think it's a good fight, man. I think that anything with Chael Sonnen is good and exciting and entertaining, and I want to see it, I don't really know how that fight's going to play out, though, dude. I mean, Shogun's the real deal, man, and Chael Sonnen's going to have to be on his game to get that to not. He could probably take him down, but to stay out of trouble on the ground is a whole other story, And to keep him there, Shogun's pretty active off his back, I think he's one of the more exciting light heavyweights off his back and on his feet. It's kind of hard to pick against Shogun. I don't know, but if Chael won, that would be awesome.
I'm going to tell you that I think that Shogun is going to win the fight by submission. Probably heel hook.
By a heel hook or a leg lock, right? Yeah, I mean, I know that's what I'm saying, dude. The guy's so aggressive off his back. I mean, you take him down, dude, and you're still in trouble, especially for somebody like Chael Sonnen, who doesn't have the best submission defense historically. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I agree with that one, and Shogun does have he's one of these fighters that actually does have an active guard. So I expect to, and he's going to be a bigger guy also. He's going to be a bigger guy. That's the thing about when you fight. When you're in Chael is still a middleweight. Despite what anybody said about his size. And he's bulking up. When he was fighting John Jones, a lot of people were talking about. We had Mike Dolce on, for instance, and he was talking about how he had, Chael's 240 and he's ripped, blah 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 blah. He still had to make 205. His diet, everything like that, still had to be in check. And when he made 205, he really didn't get that much bigger. Everyone saw how much bigger John Jones was, and it's tough thing. When you're fighting a guy who's bigger, he's going to have a better opportunity now because he's taking the fight on, he's not taking the fight on short notice. He's getting a couple months to get prepared, and he'll get to get a full training camp for this. But again, it's going to be a tough fight against Shogun, who is a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's got some serious submission skills off his back, heel hooks, leg locks, So it's always fun to see guys who have those serious submission skills and put them to use. It seems like it's almost a dying art these days.
It is. I agree. Right now we have our first guest of the evening on the radio show, Georgie. It's a guy I'm excited to talk to. He's fighting for the World Series of Fighting and their upcoming third event against Jacob Volkman. And I think this is a real interesting take because who it is, it's Lyle Beerbohm, right? And with him fighting Volkman's been a guy that's been making headlines lately for all the wrong reasons. So I want to get Lyle's take on this fight, on his opponent, and all the things that encompasses the Volkman mystique. So without further ado, it's Lyle Beerbohm. Mr. Beerbohm, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for coming on. So, what do you think about this fight? Let's just talk about the fight first, and then we'll get into some other things. You're fighting Jacob Volkman, coming up here in the next couple weeks on the WSOF 3 card. It just got announced today that you guys actually got promoted to the main televised card. So give us your breakdown on this fight, and what do you think about Mr. Volkman as an opponent?
Yeah, I'm super excited about it being on TV. I'm super stoked about that, because this fight's not going to be boring. There's no two ways around it. We're both grapplers, wrestlers, but both of us want to be on top. Neither of us are going to stay on bottom. And so when you get a matchup like this, the fans are going to win for sure. It's going to be a super exciting fight. Jacob's tough. He's a 3-time All-American wrestler from Minnesota. He's a 2008 grappling world champion. I mean, he's a tough cookie. So it should be a fun fight.
Okay. Now you've been a pretty active guy after your days in Strikeforce, right? I mean, you got thrown in there against two really tough guys. They're the only two losses of your career period. Pat Healy, who you lost a decision to, and then that Shinya Aoki fight. You got submitted with I think it was like a neck crank, right? But since then,
yeah,
you've stayed active on the regional circuit, King of the Cage. You did show fights, and you've done a couple other things out there in the Northwest. And just talk to us about that, and how important is it to stay active, in that circumstance. Now you're fighting for WSOF, so you're kind of back in the game a little bit.
Definitely. I have to stay active. I got kids to feed, and this is my only income. So I got to fight, and I'm super, and I like to fight. I don't like to sit around unless I'm injured. When I first started, in my amateur career, I had 12 fights in like 8 months, and then I turned pro and rattle off a whole bunch of fights. So I'm the type of fighter that likes to fight. I like to get in there. I like to fight, and I don't like to sit around. And so. It's and I fought some good King of the Cage, and I fought Marcus Aurelio for show fight, like you said, and then I had a couple regional fights around here, local fights, but I'm just super happy to fight on the big stage and fight a good, solid opponent, Volkman. Especially being on NBC Sports, that should be pretty good.
Right. Now, what do you think about Jacob? Not so much about how the fight breaks down, but it seems like anytime this guy talks lately, he's making headlines with his, he's bashing the UFC about fighter pay and fighters need to start a union. He'll always be famous for his knock on President Obama. So this guy, he's an interesting character, not just a good fighter, but his character and his persona is one that's kind of odd, but people like to listen to what he has to say. What do you think about all that?
I tell you the truth, I haven't really paid much attention. I did listen a little bit about him and the Obama a bit, but I don't know much about anything else. I don't really, I watched some film on him, but I don't get on the internet and surf and pay attention to what he does. I don't get on websites or nothing like that. So I truly don't know what, my mom told me that he was saying crap about the UFC doesn't pay and, I kind of stay away from that kind of crap.
I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the style wise. That I thought the matchup was really intriguing. You're actually a fighter that I love to watch fight, simply because of your style of fighting. You pull off a lot of really, really cool submissions, and really that's where I see I see Volkman as a good grappler, but I see that your finishing skills seem to be a lot better. Did you look at this fight like that and see, you do have a lot of wins. Half your wins are by submission, and Volkman has been submitted most of the time in his losses. And did you kind of look at this fight when it was presented to you and say, style-wise, this is just a great fight for you?
It's a good fight and a bad fight. He's on paper. And on the odds and everything, I guess he's a 2-1 favorite, and on paper, because I never went to college and wrestled, and I've never really did any grappling tournaments and stuff. But when it comes down to it, I don't believe in all that crap. I don't believe in when it comes to paper. I believe it's a fight, So I do. I think it's a good matchup for me. I think he's going to come in and try to lay on me, and I'm going to scramble. I'm going to get up and I'm going to kick his ass and probably choke him out. That's the goal. So, but I think it's going to be just because he's such a good grappler and good submission wrestler that he wants to be on top. I think it should be a super good fight for the first round and a half. I mean, it's going to go back and forth. It's going to be all over the place. I mean, we're going to be scrambling.
I think back when I was shown this fight and when they announced this fight, I couldn't help but think of Jacob Volkmann's fight with Paul Sass, and how Paul Sass was just attacking him from his guard and relentlessly, and it looked like Volkmann just had never experienced anybody who had an active guard game like that. Is that an area that maybe you could look to exploit? Because again, your ground game, while his wrestling accolades are very good, it seems like that your jiu-jitsu is kind of tailor fit for fighting, and kind of catching wrestlers in these type of submissions.
Yeah, no, definitely. One thing, I'm not going to lay on my back. I don't lay on my back, and I take your back, and I do top stuff, and I can. I just got my black belt in jiu-jitsu this week, so I'm super stoked about that.
Congrats,
man!
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But I'm not going to lay on my back, and I'm not going to go try for triangles and crap like that. That's just not my style. So. We got similar styles. We do. I got more of a submission game, though. I like to go for the finish. I go, and he's more of a position, get on you position.
So how's that? Well, how was that journey like? The journey to a black belt when you started? Could you train a lot in the gi?
Yeah, I've been training in the gi, and I just grapple a ton. I'm always on the mat grappling. Since I've started, I don't know, 6-7 years. And I've put more hours on that mat grappling than anything. It's grappling and spar. That's that's all I do for my training is I grapple, start from our feet, wrestle, grapple, and then I spar. I do that 5 times a week, and so my grappling's super good, my submission game's super good, and my MMA, I mean, that's all I do is MMA sparring. So that's everything's going good for me right now.
So who did you get your black belt from, and are there any particular jiu-jitsu guys that you were kind of watching, and maybe some things you were picking up from certain world champs or ADCC guys?
I got my black belt from a guy named Bart Smith. He's a Machado black belt, and he's a definitely good coach. He's had his black belt for it took him about 15 years to get his black belt, and he's had it for about, I think, 6 or 7 years now. So, he knows a lot about the gi, and he's helped me. He's helped me out with the gi and everything, and just kind of twisted my game just a little bit, but I do a lot of no-gi when it comes down to it. I'm a no-gi grappler, and and that's what I like to do. And so, but and I've had good training partners for this fight. I've had Michael Chiesa. He won the tough finale. He's been training with me. I had Sam Cecilia. I had Cody McKenzie, and so I've had some super duper good training partners for this fight.
So you've rattled off a lot of wins. You got 6 in a row now. Again, your record is very deceptive because the two blemishes on your record are the 2 guys who are top of the division now. Actually, Aoki's been top of the division for the better part of 6 years now. So, and then Pat Healy obviously is very underrated because he just he came to the UFC and has taken it by storm now. What changed after those 2 losses that kind of put you on this path to where you're at now? Because again, you're on quite a tear now.
I live at I haven't been doing the MMA game for that long. I've been training and fighting for 6 years, and so half of that in 2 years I was hurt and injured, and so I really haven't. I'm still new to the game when it comes down to it. So I learn more and more every day. My game is getting better. And, that's the biggest changing point, I believe.
So, I was kind of like, as I looked at at your record and things like that, you rattled off those 6 wins. When you look at those 2 losses, are those ones that you want to get back at some point? Do you look and do you think
For
back? Do you
sure.
think back to those?
Yeah, that Aoki fight, that really bugs me. I'm like I said, I'm the type, I don't lay on my back, and I was a little too impatient with Aoki. I said, "Fuck this guy take me down. I'm getting back up," and I gave up my back too fast, and and he caught my hand and got me with a neck crank, and it was, and if I would, if I'd have been a little bit more patient with him, I think the fight would have gone a little bit, but who knows? I can't sit here and say that. So I just wish I could get that fight back. And me and Healy were super close. We were back and forth, and I was feeling super sick, and I had a blood sugar level. My blood sugar level was down in the low 50s.
Oh, wow.
When I fought him, and so I still ended up going 3 rounds, hard rounds, and giving him a hell of a fight. So I definitely would like both of those fights back. But, whatever, those guys beat me, and that's how it went. So
The Aoki fight, again, it was really interesting because you guys are such high, very talented grapplers. And I think that's where everyone was kind of excited about the style matchup. And again, it's one of the fights that probably could go in the exact opposite way, simply based on the style. Again, you were talking about how much you love being on the mat and grappling, no-gi jiu-jitsu and no-gi grappling. Is that one of the reasons why you look at that fight and you're like, yeah, this is a jiu-jitsu guy, and I kind of want to take this back to show that my grappling is better than his?
Oh, definitely. I've Vitor Ribeiro. I've fought a ton of Rafael Oliveira. I've fought a lot of Brazilians, a lot of black belts in jiu-jitsu, and I've done really well against all of them, and so.
Did we lose him?
I think we did.
Uh-oh. Let's try to get him. Let's try to get him back on.
Yeah, go ahead. And, I was asking him about the Aoki fight because again, he was, the guys are such both very, very talented grapplers.
Right.
So that's why
I know that was like his biggest profile fight. I think we're gonna get him on right now. Just give me 1 second. Let me get this dude back on.
Okay. I figured it was a fight that he would want to get back simply based on that. It's kind of one of those ones where going into it, and I know this as a jiu-jitsu guy also, like look at it like hey, I want to take this. Here's a fight with this other highly talented grappler. I want to test myself against him, and you lose by submission, and you kind of want to. It's almost like having a roll, and you want to get your tap back. So that's what I figured. He might be looking to do that, or wanting to do that against in a rematch with Aoki.
Yeah, well, we got him back on the line. Lyle, are you there?
Still not there.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear him from my line. Go ahead and take care of that. But at any rate, yeah, I figured he would want to get a fight like that back simply based on the competitive nature of jiu-jitsu and grappling, and again, and he brought it up right away, and again, the other thing that he said was that he literally broke down the technical error he made, like I put my hand in the wrong spot, blah 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 blah, and he knew exactly what it was. Even now, years removed from that fight, little more than 2 years removed from that fight, and he still knows the exact technical mistake he made during the fight, and he's able to correct it.
So maybe we got him back on. Lyle, are you there?
I still don't hear him.
Weird, dude. All right, you keep rambling on, George. I'll get this guy on the phone.
But at any rate, yeah. So that's what I figured was that he would want just the grappling competitor in him would want to go get that tap back, and Aoki submits everybody. He really does. The guy is a grappling wizard. He's about to have his match with Kron Gracie at Metamoris 2, and that's going to be a heck of a battle between two really, again, Kron is Hickson's son. That guy's pretty amazing. He's one of the best in the world. Anybody that can damn near take out Marcelo Garcia as one of the best in the world. But yeah, there's no shame in losing to Aoki. That's not really it. But what it was just kind of wanting to get a little bit of redemption and show that you're on equal or higher level in the grappling department. We're trying to get Mr. Lyle Beerbohm back on the line right now. We'll see if we can get him back on.
Lyle, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, all right. There we go. Technical difficulty solved.
We got him back on the line. But Lyle, I was asking about just from the grappling competitor standpoint, when you look back at the Aoki fight, because again, you broke down the technical error right away. You're like, oh, I put my hand over here. You remembered exactly what went wrong. Is that kind of when you look back at that, does that kind of make you want to get that tap back and show that you're just as high level as him? And B, is that what helped you evolve after that loss?
Yeah, definitely. Anytime you lose, especially in a minute 30, I mean, that's fast to me. I mean, that's not good, and especially by a submission when I can go, I shouldn't be getting submitted. So definitely I want that fight back. But he's super tricky. He's a different breed of grappler. He's just a little different. He's rubbery. He's tall and lanky and so, but yeah, I definitely would like that fight back. But I definitely learned off it also. So
let me ask you this, and you're not allowed to choose yourself. So if you out of the current mixed martial arts roster, who would you say has the best submission game in mixed martial arts?
Man. Definitely not myself.
The top, how about top three? Because I think it might be difficult to choose just one. So many good guys.
Yeah, Aoki's he's tricky. He has a very, very good game. I would say Aoki is one of the top. I would say.
Oh, that's interesting. That's who I always choose as I say the top, because his guard is just so effective. But at any rate, yeah. So again, that kind of helped you evolve, like, and put you on this six fight win streak. Are you looking for a title? Is that the end goal here?
Oh yeah, I want to be World Series champ. That's my only goal. I want to be their champ, and so.
Now, Lyle, tell me this, because I don't really know. Honestly, you're the first WSOF guy that we've had on the show. And we have a couple other radio shows that have been promoting that promotion pretty heavily. They've had Ray on and a lot of the other fighters, but I don't really know much about how the contracts worked over there, and I'm curious if you can divulge any of that information. Are you in an exclusive deal with them, or can you promo hop over to Japan and get that rematch with the Aoki if it ever came up? I mean, what's the deal? What's the deal with that?
I'm not really sure that after my fight. I'm not really sure. I signed my contract many months ago, but they weren't fighting me, so I was able to take other fights. My manager knows all the details and whatnot, and I'm not sure if I can take any fights after I take a fight for them. So if especially if they're keeping me busy, I don't want to. I want to fight for World Series of Fighting. That's what I want to do.
Makes sense. Now, a lot of people, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. I'm sure you're very happy with World Series of Fighting. They're definitely a legit promotion. But let's say you beat Jacob Volkman and you do it in exciting fashion, and your phone rings and it's the UFC. Would you be just as happy to enter the UFC octagon, or are you really going to be one of these loyal WSOF guys? Like, it seems like they're building on their roster some loyal fighters.
Only time will tell. It's a hard question to answer. Only time will tell.
Okay. And before we let you go, we won't keep you much longer. I just want to know, prediction on your fight. Let's get back to the fight with Jacob Volkman. He's a UFC veteran. I think he got cut prematurely. I think he was doing really good in the lightweight division, and I think it was just a matter of his style, not appeasing fans, and then his out-of-cage antics, probably not pleasing his employer, and so they kind of released him in the same fashion they did to John Fitch. He didn't really deserve to go. So definitely a credible opponent. How do you see this fight playing out?
I think it's going to be super close, and I'm going to pull away in the third round and finish him.
Okay. You have any finish predictions there? Submission?
No. Yeah, submission, maybe TKO, one of the two.
Right on. All right, Mr. Beerbohm. Thank you very much for your time today, and good luck in your upcoming fight.
Okay.
We'll definitely be tuning in and reporting on it, man. So thank you.
Thank you. Hey, if there's anybody out there that's interested in sponsoring me, like I said, this will be live on NBC Sports, and if there's anybody interested in sponsoring me, hit me up and you can hit me up on Facebook.
Okay.
We'll get that tweeted out for you, man.
We'll get that. Adam, tweet that out right now. Beerbohm searching for sponsors. All right, brother. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
So let me ask you, what's your prediction for that fight? I actually think it's an interesting style matchup.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something, man. When I was always a Beerbohm fan, and obviously, I've said it time and time again on the show. I've always been very fond of the Strikeforce guys and everything that they do, right? And he was one of those Strikeforce guys. So I always thought it was very interesting, and I was really pulling for him in that Aoki fight, and I was a little bit heartbroken when he lost. So I'm hoping that he wins. But Volkman's a tough dude.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough fight. I just thought that the style matchup was just so interesting because he is a very, very good grappler. He's got slick submissions, and Volkman has been susceptible to submissions. He really hasn't looked all that great. The win he had out of the last three was against Shane Roller, and Shane Roller ended up retiring, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
So again, I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm not totally. I guess I'm not totally sold on it, but Volkman has a style that can stifle guys, I guess, and can win decisions. So in that sense,
yeah, Jacob's a really tough dude, man. He's a tough fight for anybody just because of his wrestling base is so strong, But like you pointed out, Beerbohm, I mean, that's tailor-made for him. He wants that fight on the ground more than likely, and let's make no bones about it. It's going to go there, probably on Volkman's terms too, So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah,
I'm excited about that fight, though, for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be that'll be a good fight. I think they put together some interesting matchups for World Series of Fighting. I am not sold on Fitch and Berkman, but
Fitch should completely just smoke that dude, right?
If John Fitch does not finish Josh Berkman,
he's over.
I don't know what, and that is not a knock against Josh Berkman, but John Fitch has touted himself as the best guy in the world. I'm this, I'm that, I'm fucking everything. So if you're gonna tout yourself as that, you better go in and finish a guy who hasn't even been in the top 25 for quite some time.
Yeah, this is the easiest fight John Fitch has had in years. And yeah, if he, like I said, if he doesn't, if he doesn't smoke this dude, bro, he needs to go to coaching or something else, because it's his fight to lose.
It really is, and I mean, if I'm Berkman, I'm like, I'm seriously gonna make. He can win this fight and probably get offered a UFC deal.
If he beats John Fitch, then heck yeah. Berkman was in the UFC and he had a decent UFC career, but I mean, all of a sudden where he comes out of nowhere, he's back in the spotlight, So
I don't know.
I'm not really following Berkman that much, but I know he had a really good performance in his last fight. Who the heck did he beat? He beat somebody else from the UFC.
It's the fight that they can make. Aaron Simpson.
That's right. He beat Aaron Simpson.
He's actually beat a bunch of UFC guys. When I'm looking right now, Jamie Yeager, who was on Ultimate Fighter, wasn't he? Gerald Harris, and Aaron Simpson. He's won 4 in a row. He lost that fight to Jordan Mean. Berkman is a tough fighter. He's had a good run.
I'll tell you this. Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. I was surprised that he beat Aaron Simpson. He beat. I'm looking at his record right now, like I'm sure you are, but I was definitely surprised when he beat Aaron Simpson in the last World Series of Fighting event. I didn't watch that. I didn't watch that fight. I tuned in for the main event, which was what Arlovsky versus the other dude, the Black Zillion, Anthony Johnson.
That's right.
That was a crazy fight. But when I tuned in and I'm listening to the guys do their commentating, talking about how Berkman just beat Aaron Simpson. I mean, he knocked him out, so that says something.
Yeah, I mean, he beat Gerald Harris also. We'll see. He's had a good run.
Yeah, here's what happens: is sometimes these guys, especially in the older era of the UFC, when they were in the UFC, they didn't really train like athletes, And I think maybe he fell into that category. He got cut from the UFC after a 3-fight losing streak, and but he started back with UFC in 2005. I mean, this guy's been around for a while, He beat Drew Fickett, he beat Josh Neer. He's got some decent wins in the octagon. So I guess one can't really be surprised if this guy all of a sudden has a resurgence. Maybe there were some things going on in his personal life. I mean, even Alistair Overeem, he had a really terrible skid in his career back in the day. He came back to be one of the best fighters in the world. So.
Well, Berkman's actually younger than Fitch, and again, I'm not saying it as a knock towards Berkman. I'm saying it because John Fitch has talked himself up like he's the second coming of Christ. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it.
I mean,
you know as well as I do. That's just the fact of the matter here. That's what he said. Well,
yeah.
Here's your chance. Okay? Because you're not fighting that top 5 guy.
What I was surprised about John is, I've been to John's house. I've hung out with him. I have a decent relationship with the guys at AK, obviously, because we cycle AKA fighters on our show all day, every day, right? And John refused to come on our show to promote his fight because of his beef with BJ. We have another WSOF guy on the show. It's Dan Lauzon. That's Joe Lauzon's little brother, right? We had Lyle Beerbohm on, and throughout the whole BJPen.com radio network. Last night we had a couple World Series of Fighting guys on, and this Sunday I think we have a couple more. And we're trying to do our best for this show to help promote it. And Mr. Fitch is the only fighter on their entire roster that won't do an interview with us. It's whatever, So, I mean, if that's the way he's gonna be, then cool.
Let me tell you how much sleep I lost over that.
None.
Yeah, about fucking 0.
I know, but that's kind of lame, you know what I mean? But whatever, because BJ called him Fitch bitch, right, and all that stuff, and he got real butthurt, and it's all good though.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm a grown man. So are you. I didn't call him anything. So that's all. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna get mad at everybody.
I mean,
the entire world, and not promote your fight over a tweet.
Yeah, since we were talking about him, I just thought I'd keep it real, and that's really what happened there. Adam, you can tweet that out too, man. Sign him at John Fitch or whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
Don't be scared, homie. We're not BJ. We're not gonna come on here and cuss you out.
I know, seriously. But you've got you just brought up Dan Lauzon. We have him coming on here.
Yeah, I need to try to get him on the line. I'm just gonna go ahead and do this. I normally don't call dudes, right? So we're doing it because Micah Fromowitz, one of the best PR guys in the business, set us up with Dan, and we're doing it his way today. So listeners are going to hear some stuff. Hey George, do you know about that? Do you know about that tattoo competition that we're running?
Yeah. We talked about it. I know we haven't talked about it on the air because we took off last week.
Can you tell the listeners?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, can you tell the listeners about it while I try to get Dan on, because I want to pump that up.
I don't remember I know we have the. I don't remember all the details of it. That's why I was going to let you do it, because I know he's done work on you.
Yeah, he's done work on me. I'm getting more work done from him on Sunday. Hold on, let's let this phone ring out, and I'll try to get Dan on. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
awkward radio silence, so I'm just going to break it. But we're trying to get Dan Lauzon on the air.
Yeah, the awkward silence.
That was just too awkward for me, so I had to just say something.
I'm working on it. Hold on.
But-
I'm going to patch him through in a minute.
Okay. But at any rate, yeah. So we're getting Dan Lauzon on the line. He's also fighting on the World Series of Fighting 3 card against another UFC vet, John Gunderson. And again, Dan has been on quite a little tear himself, and Joe is obviously kind of like he's kind of like an extended family member of this team, and really the Lauzon brothers in general are. They've been part of BJ's camps, out in Boston when he fought Frankie Edgar. I mean, they've always been big supporters of us, everything we do here, and we're also big supporters and fans of them. And whenever we can get either of them on the line, we definitely want to get them on. Dan, he's fought in the UFC. He's 4 fights in a row. He's won 4 fights in a row now. I'm curious to see where he's going to head from here. So that's why we got him on the show today.
That is why we have him on the show today.
So
he's on. Mr. Lauzon, what's up?
Hey, what's going on, man? How you guys doing?
Doing good. So you're fighting what next week? WSOF 3. Tell us about this fight, man. You're fighting John Gunderson, who's a really respectable, good opponent for you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight. I'm excited to fight for World Series. A new promotion, but everything that they're doing seems to look good. I like it. I hope that they stay around, and I'm excited for the fight. I like the fight that I had. Gunderson, he's a veteran. He's been around for a while. He's had a lot of fights. I just think it's a good fight all the way around. So.
All right. Now I talk to your brother from time to time. Not as much as I would like to. I'll admit. But he seems to be very, very proud of the steps and the strides that you've taken in your last several fights. And I want to know, what do you attribute that to? Because you had a couple fights skidded in the UFC, but you seem to be back on track. And he's saying you're looking better than ever. So tell us a little bit about that and what changed for you.
Really, I just had to realize what was important and realize what do I want to do with this? Do I want to just fight and just be a guy that's fighting locally? Getting to the big shows and losing, like that obviously sucks. Or is this something that I want to do and do it to the best that I can and try to be a champion someday? And I said to reevaluate all that and just get refocused and just that's really it. And it's just every fight I've just been trying to get more and more focused each time. And right now I'm super focused, I'm motivated, and it's just like I said, fight by fight. But each fight I'm getting more focused and more dedicated, and I think I'm right where I need to be. Right now where I'm at in my career, and I think it's just going to get better. I can only go up. So that's really it. Just getting refocused, rededicated, clearing my head, and realizing what's important and what's not, and surrounding myself with positive people.
All right, now, do you think that's something that has just come with age? Because you hold the accolade for being the youngest fighter to fight for the UFC, right? I mean, that's you. And now that you're maturing, I remember when I was your age, man. I don't even know that I could handle the focus that you're now saying that you have, and especially younger than 25 years old. I mean, I'm quite a few years older than you, and I'm kind of thinking about being that age. So do you think that that's kind of helped you move along? Is it just a maturity thing?
Yeah, definitely. I really think that's what it really comes down to, is just maturing, and I'm much more mature now than I was a few years ago, even a year ago. So I think it's definitely what it is, just growing up and realizing what's important, and and all the other little bullshit. I just gotta leave that behind, and like I said, focus on what's important, and just try to be the best that I can every day, inside the gym and out.
Okay. All right. So how did you deal with it? I'm really fascinated with your story, man. So I'm going to sound like a little bit of a fan right now. But back in 2006, when you made your UFC debut, you made it against a guy named Spencer Fisher. You lost that fight, but like I said, you're the youngest fighter to fight for the promotion at that time, at least. How does one deal with that kind of accolade and that kind of pressure for a young man to be like, yo, I fought for the UFC? I mean, do you just kind of totally lose it and go into like superstar mode, like I'm the man, or what?
Well, at 18, it was a little bit like that. You know what I mean? Fighting UFC at 18. I would say it kind of went to my head a little bit, being like, wow, what are the 18-year-olds fighting in the UFC? No one. Like, this is fucking awesome. So it kind of went to my head a little bit, and it sucked. But again, I was immature then. It was just that's what it was, and. But now it's, looking back on it, I realize, like, man, like, yeah, I went to the UFC, but I lost. Like, I wasn't shit, and I'm still not shit, really, if you ask me. I mean, I got a decent record, 16-4, but still, I'm 0-3 when anytime I fought in the UFC, I had lost. I'm 0-3 in the UFC. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, that means I'm not shit. So, it's just, I just gotta stay mature and just try to be the best that I can with every fight, and I need to get them wins. I need to win those big fights. I mean, it was, 7 years ago when I fought Spencer Fisher for my first fight in the UFC in Vegas. 7 years ago was my first fight in Vegas. I fought there 3 times. I've lost all 3 for the UFC. I want to win. I want to go out there. I want to put on a good fight, and I want to win in Vegas. Like, that's what it is. Vegas is fight city, and I want to get that win. I want to win in Vegas. All
right, so how do you do that on June 14th? You're fighting another UFC veteran. This guy's fought in the UFC. He was in the Ultimate Fighter. So how do you ensure that your hand is raised at the end of the night?
I just need to come in as prepared as possible, and I think that I am. I'm taking all the right steps to get myself ready for this fight, and I just want to go out there. I don't want to go out there and just win by a decision. I've never won a fight by a decision. I've finished all of my 16 wins, and if I don't finish him, on the 14th in Vegas, and I'm not even sure that it will really feel like a win to me. I want to go out there and I want to finish him any way that I can, whether it's on the feet, on the ground, any way I can. But, like I said, I think I've taken the right steps for this fight, and I think that I will win, and, I just can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it,
So, you and your brother are known for, and it's been obvious in all the fights that the general MMA fans have seen, UFC or not, that you guys both really go for it. There's no boring shit going on in any of your fights. You guys go for the finish, and it's kind of a kill or be killed mentality. But I know that you've obviously you've trained with your brother so much, that I don't know if you've picked up stuff that you've kind of emulated, or if you've just developed your own style. But what kind of separates Dan Lauzon from Joe Lauzon as far as the fighting style is concerned?
I think the big difference between me and Joe is, Joe's been more of a ground guy, more of a submission specialist, where I focused a lot more on stand up in my hands. So I think that's honestly the biggest difference between the two of us. Joe has enough hands to keep it on the feet and protect himself, and he can keep it on the feet until he gets it to the ground, and then he's super slick on the ground. Whereas I think I'm a little bit different. I like to stand a little bit more, and I got enough on the ground to survive and get back up if I need to, if I can't finish on the ground. So I would say it's just, as good as Joe's ground game is, his ground game's obviously a little bit better than his hands, and I think I'm kind of the opposite. I think my hands are a little bit better than my ground game. I think Joe's a little bit slicker on the ground than me. I think I'm a little bit slicker with my hands on the feet than Joe, and I think that's the big difference between the two of us.
Well, but I think that you're pretty modest about your skills. I mean, you do have a lot of wins by submission also, and when you look at a guy like John Gunderson, he's also lost a lot of fights by submission. Is that an area where where you look at it and you're like, hey, that's I'll keep it on the feet, but if it gets to the ground, I'll probably catch him there too.
Yeah, you look at his record. He's got 27 wins of his 34 wins are by submission. But then on the other hand, if you look at his losses, I believe he has 14 losses. He's also been submitted 6 times. So it's not like I don't look at him as like this great jiu-jitsu specialist that, just takes everybody down and dominates them on the ground and submits them. He's been caught too. So I just think that, I definitely think I can catch him on the ground. And, if the fight goes there, I'll definitely be looking for the submissions. But again, it's most of the fights I've seen of him, even when it goes to the ground, it seems like it's a little back and forth, back and forth. I definitely, if it goes to the ground, I'll definitely be looking for submissions. And I think I can catch him, I think I can catch him on the ground or on the feet. So.
Well, when the other big intangible here is the layoff. You haven't fought in a while. It's about 18 months. Do you think that's going to be a problem? Do you think you're going to feel that when you get into the cage?
No, not at all. I don't think it'll bother me at all. I really don't. No, I'll be fine. The layoff won't affect me at all. I'll be good.
Why have you been out of action for so long? Was there injuries back there, or what's going on?
Yeah, I was trying to get fights around here in Mass, and it was just, every time it looked like I would have a fight, for one reason or another, it would fall through. A guy would accept, and then a week later, he would turn it down or get injured or something. A couple of fights I had contract signed. One of them I was a week out from the fight, or not even, I was 4 days out from the fight, and the entire show ended up folding and canceling. The most recent one I was trying to fight in April, I had my contract signed and everything, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, the kid pulled out of the fight to go fight down in Mexico or something in some tournament or whatever. So that one fell through, and it's kind of tough, in the position that I'm in back here to get fights because all the guys around here that are coming up and doing well, it's tough because they don't really want to take they don't want to take the tough fight around here because a lot of guys around here think, oh, I'm going to the UFC, I just need to keep winning. So it was kind of tough for me to get fights around here just because of that. Because like I said, everyone thinks that that they're going to go to the UFC. So it was just tough, and like I said, it was just you'd get a fight and then something would happen, and for whatever reason, it would fall through. Just all like the little behind the scene bullshit, and shows falling through and falling out, and it was just tough, and that's really all it was.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's kind of hard on the regional circuit, huh? Especially for somebody. You have a name brand whether you want to or not. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse because you will be forever linked with your brother, who is definitely one of the more dominant fighters in the UFC. He has been for a while. Is that kind of hard to be in your brother's shadow, or are you happy that you have him there?
No, I wouldn't say. I don't know. I wouldn't say, I'm happy to be in his shadow, but I wouldn't say I hate it either. It's just, it is what it is, really. I don't know. I guess that's all I can really say about it. It's cool, but, me and him have been, we grew up around, Massachusetts, the Massachusetts MMA scene. I've been training and stuff for 10 years, doing jiu-jitsu tournaments since I was 14. So even when I was coming up, I was always winning tournaments around here, going to Jersey, this and that. And, obviously he was too. So it's kind of like, we've been known around, around Massachusetts and around New Jersey, New England area, since, he was, since he was 17, 18, since I was, 13, 14 years old. So, both of our names have been around for a while. It blew up when, of course, when Joe went on into the UFC and knocked out Jens, and then when I fought Spencer at 18. But, even before that, like I said, around here, just on the local circuit, Joe fighting and me doing all grappling tournaments and jiu-jitsu tournaments, it's just kind of been known. So the name's just been around for a long time now, and everyone around here knows us. When we first got into, MMA around here, and there was, everybody knew everybody, and now it's, the scene's gotten much, much bigger around here, but still, even these guys that have come in just kind of know the name because, like I said, me and Joe have been around for so long on the regional circuit and everything, so, it's tough.
What do you think? How does that happen, man? Like, you guys are brothers, right? So you guys obviously, you share genetics. Is it all genetics that gets you guys to be so good with in fights and grappling and beating people up? What is it? Or is it just because the way you guys grew up? It's very rare. We don't see too many brothers. We have the Diaz brothers, who are both fighters. You got guys like the Miller brothers, but And then you have like the Lauzon brothers. There's not really too many duo brothers out there that compete in MMA on a high level. So what do you attribute that to?
I don't know. I mean, I think it was just like, the way we grew up. We always grew up. We were, huge into wrestling. We were wrestling fans, like WWF and all that. We were always wrestling, and I don't know. I got into a lot of fights growing up, and I always, I liked fighting. Like I wouldn't lie to you, man. Like getting in fights at school and shit like that. And Joe wasn't really like that though. Joe never really got into fights growing up, and he was just kind of low key, dude. Did his thing, focused on school. When I was always in sports and activities like that, and always going out, and I kind of get into trouble quite a bit. And then he started training, and he just started showing me stuff, and eventually I started training a year or two after him. And then I think that there's no better training partner than your own brother. Me and Joe had gone at it, training for years and years. And of course, I want to get the better of him. He wants to get the better of me each time, so we can just push it and do that. Whereas, you could be in the gym training with somebody and, say you want to get the better of him, he wants to get the better of you, and things escalate. And then, there could be a fight. Whereas when me and Joe are brothers, and when things escalate, and more times than one, dude, we've had to have been pulled apart by training partners and everything, because we would get going so hard, and people would have to be breaking it up. But at the end of the day, we're brothers, and we're family,
Right.
and we're not going anywhere. Whereas, if it's just two regular training partners and something like that happens, those guys might never talk again. Those guys are going to hold a grudge against each other. There's always going to be bad blood there. Well, like I said, when it's your brother, you're still family at the end of the day. You got the blood, and and no matter how hard you guys push each other, you're going to have your differences, whether it's inside the gym or outside the gym. But at the end of the day, you guys are family, and you guys are going to be all good. So I think that, we just always pushed each other, to the point where we were ready to rip each other's throats out. But still, like I said, at the end of the day, we're family, and it was good. I think that, like I said, I just think we just pushed each other so much, and we still do. So I think it works out for us.
Very cool, very cool. What are your thoughts about your WSOF career? Obviously, I'm assuming your goal is to make it back to the UFC, right? Am I accurate with that, or are you going to just be a WSFO guy for life?
I don't know. I don't really know. I like the UFC, but I really like what World Series is doing right now. If I can make a good career with World Series of Fighting, then I'll be perfectly happy with that. I mean, time will tell. I signed 4 fights with them for the course of 18 months. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully everything works out. And like I said, if I can build a nice, long, good career with World Series, I'd be happy with that. If not, and something happens, and, there's a chance to get back to the UFC at some point, then definitely I would like that too. But as of right now, I would just like to build a career with World Series, and hope that everything works out, and that I can have a good relationship with them, and you can have a good relationship with me, and I can grow with them.
Pedro brought it up, and I just gotta ask if the Miller brothers, the Diaz brothers, and the Lauzon brothers go into a room and they scrap it out, which pair leaves?
That's harsh.
Come on. I mean, I got to say that me and Joe would win, of course, because I got to be confident, right? But, yeah.
What if we throw the Overeem and the Nog brothers in there?
Oh.
I forgot about those brothers.
Well,
He didn't mention them.
Well, I'd probably pick up like a pipe and have to hit Overeem to the Nogueiras, but
I just had to ask. So just a question though is as far as the fighting style is concerned, why do you suppose, you said your brother was real low key and you got in a bunch more fights, but why do you suppose that he kind of gravitated towards jiu-jitsu in the ground game and you kind of gravitated towards the stand-up? I mean, both of you are pretty well-rounded in both. I think that's pretty obvious, but in your own words, you say he kind of is more of a ground guy. So why do you suppose that it ended up like that?
I don't know. I mean, I grew up playing sports. I grew up playing football, and I was always, a guy on the football field. I was a linebacker and then I was a fullback. I was always just running after guys and just trying to smash into them at 100 miles an hour. And, in a way, that's kind of how stand-up is. You pick your shots and you pick guys apart, but, when you go for that kill, that's what you try to do. I try to hit you at 100 miles an hour with my fist. Like, I'm trying to put your lights out, and that's kind of how it was with football. I just be trying to stick people, and I grew up playing football my whole life, and I just kind of took that, that smash mouth football game, and I kind of put it into fighting. So, when I try to hit you, I'm trying to put your lights out with every punch. And then, like I said, I grew up, getting into a lot of fights and stuff, a lot of street fights, and in a street fight, you don't really take guys down and, and out-position them or whatever. I mean, you could, but, it's a street fight. You never know what's going to happen. People pull weapons, this and that. I just don't really want to take those chances. So it's, a lot of street fights, you're always standing and you're swinging and slanging. And I don't know, I kind of just always like to stand up better. Kind of took to it a little bit more. And, like I said, Joe was just more of a low-key guy, did his own thing. And he just really took to the jiu-jitsu. He really liked the ground game. And, I really like to stand up, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of tough to explain, I guess. I don't know. I'm not really sure how that worked out.
Since you brought it up, what's your most memorable street fight? You've been in a bunch of them, right? So is there one that sticks out in your head?
And he's been in trouble too. I know some stories about Mr. Dan, but I won't bring it up on the air.
We won't go there. But yeah, what's the most memorable one where you look back and you're like, damn, I knocked that motherfucker out, or whatever one you can think of.
I don't know, maybe one that happened a few years ago actually, where it was a buddy of mine. We were walking from like one bar over to another one to meet up with some friends, and I don't know, these kids started mouthing off with to my boy. It was just me and my friend, and there was like 10 or 12 of them. Kids started saying something to my boy. I think my boy might have like egged them on a little bit. I forget exactly how it happened, but they started
10 or 12.
And I'm telling my buddy.
He just said 10 or 12, just to reiterate the number. 10 or 12 of them. Continue on.
Yeah, so my boy's kind of like saying shit, and I'm telling him, chill, dude. I'm like, relax. There's 10 or 12 of them. It's just me and him, and he's not even exactly a fighter or anything. Like, so I'm like, dude, if something happens, I'm gonna end up swinging by myself here and whatever. So, they're going back and forth, and I lean into the main kid that was like, starting to show my boy, and I told him, like, dude, look, relax. I'm like, you guys have been drinking, we've had some drinks. I'm like, why don't you guys just go that way? We'll go this way. Like, you guys are arguing about something stupid. And the kid's like, oh, if you knew it was good, you'd go the other way. And I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I don't really like, the dude talking to me like that. Like, I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying to calm this thing down. So I take a step back, and I'm, like, standing there thinking about it. And all of a sudden, the fucking kid just hucks a lungie right on the front of my shirt. And
wow.
So I'm like, oh, shit, dude, go. Yeah, I'm like, all right, like, there's no way that we can walk away now. Like, that's the most, as far as, I was raised, that's the most disrespectful thing you could ever do to somebody. You spit on somebody like that. So I'm standing there, whatever, and then this kid, like, starts unzipping his hoodie, and he's, like, pacing back and forth, and I'm like, all right, dude, I'm like, for real, we're going to fight right here, we're going to fight. And then, I don't know, there's just this big-ass kid came around from the back with a hoodie on. He had, like, his hands in the front of his hoodie. And he took his left hand out of his hoodie and he sucker punched me and hit me, and like I like kind of ducked my head. I threw a right hand and then a left hook and then another right hand, and the last right hand caught him on the chin, went out flat on his back. He was unconscious. And then I got my back, like all his boys like spread out. I got my back against the wall of the building and like worked my way towards like the front of the building so that none of them could get behind me and shit. And then as I got towards the front of the building, like all the bouncers and shit came out, and all the dudes like gathered up across from me, and I'm standing there, and like my shoulder was just like on fire, and I was like, dude, what the hell? And I could feel shit running down my chest and my back, so I reached in, like under my shirt, and I wiped my shoulder, and I could see all sorts of blood, so I reached in again, wiped it, even more blood, so I unzipped my hoodie, I take my shirt off, and I wipe it, and the kid had fucking stabbed me in the shoulder. I guess when he threw the left hand, when he caught me with the sucker punch with the left hand, and he took out his right hand, he threw like an overhand right, and I'm like, right as I ducked, he came over he had a knife in his right hand, stabbed me in the shoulder, And then, I ended up catching him with the last shot and knocked him out. And, I'm like, I wiped my shoulder to see how bad it was. It wasn't really bad. I got like 5 or 6 stitches for it, but, I just said to him, like, you for real? I'm like, you gonna stab me? You gonna stab me over this? Like, this ridiculous. And they're like, yo, we didn't stab no one. We didn't stab no one. I'm like, all right, man. And the cops came up or whatever, asking who did it. And I was just, I don't know, I just don't really talk to cops like that. I just,
right.
Whatever.
That's crazy,
and,
bro.
that was kind of it, but that's probably the one that sticks out the most, and just kind of, made me realize, like, man, like this street fighting and all this bullshit just really isn't worth it, because anybody can do anything. Like, it was stupid. It was literally this dude stabbed me over nothing.
Right. That's crazy, man. I remember when that went down too, because I talked to your brother the very next day, because the Boston Herald came out with a story, right? Like the local newspaper out there came out and ran wild with that story, and the whole MMA world went crazy. Like, Dan Lauzon got stabbed, and I remember talking to your brother about that, and he was like, "Yo, Pedro, please don't run anything on that. That's kind of like a family thing. Let's keep that low key." And I respected that, but that's really cool to really interesting, I should say, to hear your side of the story, because I always really wanted to know what really went down that night.
Yeah, it was. That's really what it was. I think what happened is when we were walking up, like, there were these dudes, and they were saying something about they were talking about like an old Cadillac, like old Cadillacs, how they would have like that tire in the back, and it was like the diamond print or whatever on the Cadillac, like on the rim, and the dude said something about like, oh, it's a caddy with the diamond in the back or something like that, and my buddy like said like, yeah, the caddy with the diamond in the back, and then they like started clowning on my boy, like, you don't even know what that means, and he's like, yeah, it's a song, and then like they all just started laughing at him and shit, and then like they were egging him on to fight, and like that's pretty much the reason the whole thing started, and that's why I was telling like, dude, I'm like, chill, like, you guys just go your way, I'll go my way, and then, the kid spit on me, and at that point I was like, dude, I'm not about to walk away from this shit, like, you're not gonna spit on me, dude.
Yeah, no way. That's crazy, man. I wish we had more time to get some more war stories, because honestly, that was really cool, man. Let's close this interview out, brother, with your prediction on your fight. I want to know, we talked about it, we know how you guys match up, but how do you see this fight playing out?
I see myself winning, and I see myself finishing him. And, I'm pretty sure you guys have a pretty good idea on how I want to finish him, so I'll leave it at that, but I will finish him on the 14th.
Right on. All right, Dan, well, good luck in your upcoming fight, man, and please come on again. I loved having you on. I'm sure George did too. You've been an awesome guest tonight, so thank you very much.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. I appreciate the support, and thanks for having me on.
All right, right on. Have a good night.
Later, man. You too.
Dude, I wanted to ask him the stabbing story so bad, George. I wanted to, I heard Joe's side of the story, and Joe was freaked and panicked for his brother, because Dan went to the hospital. Dan played it off like, yeah, it was just a couple stitches. No, you got stabbed and you went to the hospital, bro. And, and I wanted to talk about that so bad, but I'm like, you know what? It's really not appropriate. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, that's in the past. This kid, he's like thugged out MMA fighter, like, badass street dude, you know what I mean, who gets stabbed in bar fights and stuff like that. We won't go there. But when he told that story, I'm like, I wonder if this is the stabbing story. It sounds like the stabbing story. And then he said, yeah, and I got stabbed, and I was like, whoo, buddy. All right. He told it. That's great, man. I mean, it sucks that he got stabbed. It's terrible. Nobody should street fight. But just for the pure sake of wanting to know the gossip, you know what I mean? I liked that. I liked getting the gossip on that story, so that was cool.
I don't really have much to follow up, but I do have a suggestion for John Gunderson. Don't bring a fucking knife, because you're still going to lose.
Yeah.
Just so you know, don't bring a knife, because there's a good chance, or 10 or 12 of your buddies, because it's a good chance it's not going to matter.
It's 10 or 12. It's 10 or 12, something like that. He wasn't keeping a head count, He's just, this is around there. All right.
10 or 12 armed guys.
All right, we got to get TJ Grant on the line. He's the #1 contender in the UFC lightweight division. He's our last guest of the night. Before I get him on the line, I do want to talk about that contest for everybody listening. It's Carlos Macedo. He is a world famous tattoo artist. He tattoos the likes of Puff Daddy, the rapper, The Game, and he's all intertwined in the music industry and all these celebrities. He works for a studio that you can't even walk into this tattoo place. It's an invite only. It's not like just walk in, I want a tattoo. No, you have to get invited, or you have to be pre-screened by him to book an appointment. It has to be a piece that he's interested in. He's not just going to go and tattoo you like your family crest on your chest or something like that. His works have been featured in like all the tattoo magazines repeatedly. He was even on the Ellen DeGeneres show. I mean, the guy's the real deal. He's one of the best tattoo artists in the world. We actually have our video guy, Stan the Man, who is from Hilo, Hawaii, working on a reality show with him. He's producing and filming a reality show with Carlos. So the dude's legit. He's also going to be at the UFC Fan Expo, the only tattoo artist to actually be doing tattoos live at the Fan Expo this year in July in Vegas. And we're giving away on BJPen.com, because of my relationship with Carlos, I was able to get him to give one of our readers, one of our listeners, a free tattoo, which is pretty cool, because I mean, you're talking like if he touches your skin, you're gonna be paying at least $1,000. Okay, so I mean, it's no joke, and we're getting that for free. Whoever wins the contest will be tattooed at the UFC Fan Expo live in front of all the fans, and so it's a pretty cool contest. I know tattoos aren't for everybody. Some people don't like tattoos. It's kind of like one of those real personal commitments that you really have to think about before you make. It's not just something you should rush into hastily. But if you want more info, log on to BJ Penn's Facebook. We have the flyer for Carlos Macedo as the last picture posted in the photo gallery. We also have an article on BJPen.com about the contest and the rules and how you enter. And if you're going to be in the Las Vegas Fan Expo and you want some ink by one of the best tattoo artists in the absolute world, not only currently but ever, then it's a good opportunity. With that being said, I don't know what you think about that interview, George. Dan Lauzon.
Yeah, I mean, just the story, the street fighting story, and again, he didn't want to ask, but and I wasn't intentionally trying to ask, but a lot of the things he brought up just kind of sparked my curiosity. This is why I asked about the differences between him and his brother fighting, very similar. When you watch them fight, you're like, man, both guys go after it, but very different in their approach. Joe is a really submission-heavy fighter, but he will stand toe-to-toe with you. And again, Dan is very competent on the ground also. He's like, oh, I'm more of a stand-up guy, but he does have 7 of his 16 wins are by submission, so obviously he's pretty competent on the ground also. But really, with the street fighting story, I wasn't really trying to ask him about the knife story, because again, I was trying to avoid the past and whatever it was. But he brought it up himself, and it was an interesting story nonetheless. And his story is very interesting, because his brother is one of the top lightweights in the division. And
Speaking of top lightweights, let me interrupt you. We have him on the line. He's the #1 contender for the UFC lightweight title. It's TJ Grant. TJ, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing great. How things changed in just a couple weeks, man? We had you on the show not that long ago, and here we are. Yesterday it was announced that your fight was booked for the UFC lightweight title against Benson Henderson at UFC 164, right?
Yeah, man. No, it's it's taken a little while to sink in, but definitely it's a good feeling. I've been putting a lot of work in, and just grinding away, and quietly doing my thing, and now I'm starting to really make some noise, and this is where I want to be.
More than some noise, brother. You went in there and you took out Gray Maynard, and like he didn't have any business being in the cage with you. And I know you said you kind of saw the fight going that way, that you were working on those punch combinations and you knew what he was bringing to the table. But did you really think you were going to take out Gray Maynard, a 2-time title challenger like that, with what seemed, from sitting on the couch at least, it seemed like it was easy for you?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, like, by no means, like, to say he didn't belong in the cage. I mean, he definitely did, and he's a great fighter and everything. I felt like confident, in myself going into the fight, but I was prepared to go in there and be put through the grinder and take a beating if I had to in order to win. And sometimes you just do everything right and everything falls into place for you, and you can have a performance like that. But fight Gray Maynard 10 times, and it's not going to be the same outcome every time. The guy's a warrior, and I was just glad to go out there and be able to do what I prepared to do. And obviously the plan early on in the fight wasn't to stand in front of him and feel his power. It wasn't until about a minute in that I kind of said, "Oh, I'm supposed to be moving right now." Not going out there and pulling a Clay Guida, but I'm trying to keep the pressure, exchange with him, but be constantly moving. And then once I found my rhythm, after about a minute, I felt like I was able to start to throw my combinations or whatever and get off a little bit.
Amazing. Well, I know that I never really try to be biased in fights. I'm not going to sit here and say that I was biased for you, that I was pulling for you, anything like that. But I think it's a fantastic journey. I've been working with you. We've been doing interviews since you were at welterweight. It's been quite a few years, and just to see the rise. That where you've come from in the UFC to where you're at right now. You have a title fight booked, man. I just want to say it's been an honor to be able to work with you, and I wish you nothing but the best. And thanks very much for always taking the time out for BJPenn.com, because you've arrived now, bro.
Yeah,
you've arrived now, bro. You're there. You know what I mean? It's cool.
It's been a long one, man. But you guys have supported me. When no one really knew who I was, and it's been a long road, man. But that means a lot. I definitely didn't get, really discouraged or anything. I felt fortunate to be able to fight as much as I did in the UFC and really fly under the radar because, I've had the right fights at the right time in my life, and here I am, man. I'm in a good spot, and I couldn't really ask for any more.
All right. So now with this fight booked, you're official. You're fighting Benson Henderson. I want to know, TJ. I know it's early to be casting predictions and all this stuff, and you're not going to want to give away game plan. But we kind of are getting familiar with what you do out there. How do you beat this guy? Because he's been doing pretty good. He tied BJ Penn's lightweight defense record in his last fight. How do you stop him from beating BJ Penn's record and start building a legacy of your own as a champion?
He's a tricky guy to fight. I mean, he's being a southpaw. He's getting ready for the Gray Maynard fight. While it's an incredibly dangerous fight, and there's some things that he does really well. You know what you're going to get. And with Benson, there's a whole bunch of different things that he does really well. So it's definitely a whole other can of worms. But I'm just excited. I mean, right now the work Benson Henderson, Benson Henderson work's already started. From here on out, everything's Benson Henderson, and it's important for me to just kind of be a human being for a couple weeks here after this fight. Just kind of wouldn't say rest because I'm pretty healthy, but before the training really amps up a bit. So I mean, I'm looking forward to the work, and I think it's just going to be important to be on point everywhere. I mean, this guy, he can wrestle with anybody. He can, he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu now, and his striking's on point, and his athleticism and being a southpaw, you got to worry about all those things. So, it's unlike a lot of fighters I've ever fought, and I'm just looking forward to getting out there and, preparing for this fight. So I basically danced around your question.
Well, it's about what we expected when somebody says, so how are you going to beat him?
I'm going to hit him really, really, really hard. How about that?
Right on.
Well, if it's anything like you hit Gray, it's probably going to work. But at any rate, it's we come full circle because last time I was talking to you, we were talking about Gray, and one of the things I brought up, and you brought it up yourself numerous times. You're like, well, he's a great wrestler, and he's got a lot of power, and then ironically enough, you're the one that knocks him out. So funny how that works out.
I mean, I guess I've been working on my striking for a while, and I don't feel like I have the same power as a guy like Gray. I definitely don't have that one punch put a guy completely to sleep type Johnny Hendricks type power, but I mean I connect right with anyone. I can hurt them. I can put them down, and I feel like I also put a lot of pressure on fighters, and I make them throw punches when they're not ready to throw punches. I make them fight at a an uncomfortable pace, and it's worked out for me.
Well, when you got him with that punch, did you know right there? You're like, that was good. I got him clean, and I'm swarming him.
Yeah, I kind of, I was eager just to, start hitting him with my shots because, I mean, who reacts well to getting hit? But I know that, like, I've seen him get hit in other fights, and, I feel like sometimes he eats big punches, and, I was looking for my right hand a lot, but I was trying to keep moving, and I felt like I made a couple good connections, and I felt like, the fight was starting to go my favor, but, anything can change with a guy like that. He can hit you once, and so, I mean, and then I connected with a good one. I felt like I really hurt him. There was that little pause where, I got him, and, I just pressure all from there on, it just, you got to go after him. And then I dropped him a couple seconds later, and I wasn't letting him off the hook. But, I mean, the whole plan was to finish him at that point.
So, obviously we talked, and everybody knows now you've got Ben Henderson next. I'm sure you've watched the fight with Gilbert Melendez, and I'm sure it's going to be watched a bunch more times in the upcoming months. But what did you take away from that fight when you're watching Ben fight Gilbert? Because a lot of people didn't think he won that fight. I actually thought Gilbert won the fight.
I kind of was like, I wouldn't have to me, it wouldn't have mattered who won. Like, I found the first round, I thought I gave it to Gilbert. I thought the third round, I definitely gave to Gilbert. And the third and fourth definitely went to Benson. And the second round, I didn't feel like a lot happened. And I definitely don't think you can overlook the fact that Benson's always kicking the body, kicking arms, whatever he's kicking, he's kicking something and it hurts. And so that's kind of where I was thinking he might have got the second round, especially because it was so close. But I mean, I'd have to watch it again, really. I wasn't really disappointed with the decision, but, I think that Gilbert did a lot of good things in that fight, though, so it's definitely something you want to watch.
So, and you just brought it up a few minutes ago, but, Ben Henderson, the video came out, it was yesterday. He got his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from John Crouch. We talked before a lot about grappling and different things about, gi, no gi, and we had a little extensive talk about that. Well, what do you think about Ben's grappling compared to yours? It could be very interesting. He does. I don't know that he's quite the finisher you are on the ground, but what do you think about his ground game and how how does it compare to yours?
I mean, his ground game's, he's a very good grappler. I've seen him do really good things, and he uses wrestling well, and he's athletic. So, I mean, he's got a lot of things going on in his favor, but, I feel good, man. I feel good with my grappling. I'm always trying to get better. And, like, the thing is I've literally sped up with all my opponents in, like, the last, 3 fights, and before that it was, pretty much the other 2 fights was planned for that, too. But, I mean, I work, equally, if not more, on my grappling. I just happen to, have these fights where it's like, I'm fighting black belts, I'm fighting, tough wrestlers, and I'm ready to do whatever I need to do out there. I feel good. I mean, my grappling, I do train in the gi. I do train in the gi a lot, but, I like to keep my game really simple. You look at a guy like Nogueira, and you gotta keep it simple when you fight, man. Like, what works, no gi and in MMA is what works, like, I don't try to develop any new fancy stuff. Sometimes if my mind gets totally bored while I'm training, like, I'll try to, bring some new things in that I'll know I'll never use in a fight, but just to keep you stimulated. But at the same time, man, like, I'm all about bread and butter stuff, and, I put my grappling up there with anyone.
So, have you already started kind of planning out, like, who can you bring into or who would be best at your camp, or are you planning to bring in to emulate a guy like Ben Henderson?
We got some guys at my camp, but not everybody's a southpaw, and you want to have a good, competent southpaws to train with. And right now it's just really been like a crazy week and a half since the fight, and there's definitely been some phone calls made, and we're just looking to get some guys in as well, and it's going to be all in on this camp, man. It's still a little soon for me we didn't know when the fight exactly was going to be, but, I can tell you in the next week or so we'll have everything mapped out, and, be ready to get to work.
TJ, how important is it to you? Not, I mean, obviously you want to win the UFC title. That's every fighter's dream and goal. But is it icing on the cake to bring another title to Canada?
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly motivated. To me, it's just like such an honor to get to fight for the belt and everything else. But I'll tell you, man, when I'm out there fighting, like, I know, like, it's hard to say that, but I don't think about anything, man, other than winning. Like, and I'm winning for myself and my family, and that's really what my goal is. And I mean, the belt is, I guess it adds any. Right now, I'm 100%, all in and motivated for this fight, and I would be whether it was, for the title or not. At this point in my career, this is just where I'm at mentally. I'm ready to go out there and just, put everything into this, and I believe in myself 100% in everything I do. And going out for that title, man, it's going to be incredible to have the opportunity to fight for it. I've been a fan of the UFC since, I mean, I can say I've been a fan of the UFC since pretty much anyone. I mean, I started watching it when I was like 9 years old or something. So, this is really like a dream come true.
Right on. Now, you're not going to be one of these guys, are you, that you get the title shot and you switch up everything in your training? I mean, I know you said you're all in on this camp, but you're not going to switch camps and go somewhere else. You're not going to, like, go to TriStar or go to Greg Jackson's. You're going to keep it the way that you have right now, right? What got you here? Am I right, or are you planning on big moves?
No, you hit the nail. Yeah, no, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, man. I get everything I need here, and I mean, other people, they do what they do, but me personally, I love where I'm at. I love being home when I'm training. I love the guy I train with. I feel like I get great training here, and if I need anything else, I bring people in, and that's it, man. Like I can have things centered around me at times. Obviously, when it's not my turn to fight, and it's all about the other guys. But I get a lot of attention, and I feel like it shows when I fight. I do get improved. I always bring another element to the table every fight. I try to, anyways. And if I don't, it's my fault. I'm proficient in something new before my fight in training, and I always try to get better, and I feel like I'm doing that. So if I'm always getting better, then why change it?
Makes sense, and I agree with that. I would hate to see you try to switch it up. I never think that's a wise move for guys. I mean, maybe for some guys it is, but not once you've reached that pinnacle and you're there, and then boom, switch everything up that got you there. Another thing I want to know, TJ, is you're obviously, and I know it's not anytime soon, but you're going to be due for increased media attention. You're fighting for a title. You're talking countdown shows. Maybe a primetime series. Who knows what the UFC has planned, but you're definitely going to be experiencing much more cameras around you, many more interview requests, all these other things that sometimes is a downfall for fighters because it detracts from the focus and the training and all that stuff, and it becomes quite a burden. How are you readying yourself to prepare for that increased exposure?
Saying yes to interviews with guys like you, man. I guess I don't mind doing interviews, and I'm sure it's going to get crazy, but at the same time, man, like, this is where I want to be in life, and you just got to try to manage your best and make sure that it doesn't interfere with your rest time, and just make sure you always get a good sleep and stuff like that, and then I can do whatever I do after that. It's really important though, as being a fighter, to get your rest and stuff like that, but. I'm not going to complain about that stuff, dude. This is, I want to fight. I want to win. I want to make money. I want to become the champion. All these things, and that's another thing that comes along with it.
You brought it up, and I was just going to ask it because you said you want to fight and you want to make money. The make money part, again, that kind of goes with being the champion. So, if you're a very confident guy, although you're very humble and focused, and that was evident. You did remain humble through the Gray Maynard pre-fight interview, and you went and knocked him out and completely shut down a lot of people's predictions. So again, I think a lot of people will be picking you to shock the world again. But when you become champion, what's the first thing you buy with all that money?
I don't need much, man. I'm happy, dude. I got I got my fiance, I got my baby, I got my animals, I got a house over my head, I got vehicle. What more do I need right now? I think that good friends and all that stuff and family is what's important. But
a new SUV is always nice.
I'll probably buy some guns and maybe I don't need any guns, but I'll buy them. My girlfriend's giving me a dirty look. I guess I'll probably, I might upgrade my vehicle or something. But you know what, man? I don't even think about that stuff. I don't think about anything other than just fighting, and I don't think about how much money I'm going to make or anything like that. It's about going to war, and then when you get that extra check, when you walk back after the fight, that's that's one of the better feelings in the UFC for sure.
A new vehicle full of guns. You must have been hanging out with Pat Healy.
Yeah, there we go.
Same thing.
Yo, you're not gonna break TJ, George. This guy's all class all the time.
Well, because Pat was telling us that he was like, well, yeah, I'll take that bonus money and buy a lot of guns.
That's what he said. Yeah, he said I'm going to buy a lot of guns.
You guys should go in together. I mean, what kind of guns would you buy? Wait, why the guns? Are you just a gun aficionado? Or?
I don't know, man. I just got my FAC, and I'm gonna start hunting in the fall, and I don't know, man. I think it's I kind of want to start a little collection of guns, and then I don't really need many more, but bought a couple guns. I'm looking to get in a couple more, and I guess I don't really need them where I live, but that's kind of cool to have them.
It's a cool hobby, yeah.
Zombies or something like that.
Yeah, prepare for the apocalypse just in case.
If the zombie apocalypse goes down, I guess we're running it over to TJ's house.
Hey TJ,
I'm sure there's other fighters with more guns than me.
Hey TJ, how good does it feel, man? You like you just mentioned, you have a fiance, you're engaged, you have a baby. How good does it feel to come home after a win? I mean, I would imagine just as a man, with the whole testosterone thing, you want your family to be proud of you, and to come home after a fight with Gray Maynard and to have done so well to be the UFC's #1 contender. How good does that feel for you, bro?
Oh, it felt really good, man. Anytime you get to the fight, all the lead up, all the build up, man, it's just then fight week comes and you just think man, this is going to be a tough week, and then you got to go out there and just go to war. And I'm excited to win, but I think I'm just as excited to get to come home. You know what I mean? Get to come home. I got my 5-week-old baby and stuff like that, man. It's pretty awesome to just get home and relax and just have a couple days of peace. And because this job, man, you go right back into it, and then everybody forgets about what you did, and it's on to proving yourself again. Every time you're out there, you're auditioning. So, after a win, man, that little window, it's there's nothing better. And when you got good family to hang around, it's amazing.
That's awesome. And that little window is exactly why I didn't hit you up until this week. I wanted to give you that good week of rest and relaxation. I mean, you and I, we text.
You're probably the only media that did that.
Oh, I know, because I read the interviews, bro. I know we didn't. We probably could have got Mr. Grant first, but we didn't. I respected your peace and privacy. But we had to get you on this week. Let me ask you this, bro. Before we let you go, I know it's getting late, and you've been gracious with your time, and for sure we're going to have you on again when the fight gets closer. But what can people expect from TJ Grant? I know we're not gonna break down the fight, but I'm just gonna kind of ask again in a different way. What can fans expect from TJ Grant when he faces Benson Henderson?
I'd say just expect war, man. That's it. I don't mess around, man. I don't fight to win close rounds. I fight to finish all the time, and I'm gonna come forward. I'm attack, and that's it. That's the bottom line, man. I'm going to fight.
There it is. George, you have anything more for TJ before we let him go?
Well, only that probably means that he's going to knock Ben Henderson out in 30 seconds. Okay, because I heard the same thing last time, TJ, and then you win.
I'm coming to fight, man.
So, very again, it was great talking to you. You're very humble and I know extremely focused, man. And for sure, we're definitely we're definitely glad you were able to pull that out, and that you're getting the attention and exactly what you deserve. You're in the spot that you were looking for.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, TJ. Have a good night, man. Thanks for coming on, and we'll be in touch, bro. If you need anything, let me know. Sure. I got your back, and we'll get you on in a couple months before the fight.
Sounds good, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Peace out.
Bye.
There he is, number one contender for UFC lightweight gold. I like to think that we started this this good luck run towards the title. Notwithstanding the fact that he had like 5 wins before he came on the air with us.
Oh, dude.
I like to think that it was our good luck that caused that knockout.
Let me tell you something, George, okay? And this goes for anybody out there, maybe not the fans, but maybe anybody who wants to make a stick or make their mark in journalism or radio hosting, whatever it may be. Don't count out the small guy, because every single person was a small guy at one time. Anderson Silva was a no-name guy when he started in MMA. John Jones, same thing. This guy, before he was the UFC champion, there was a point in time where nobody knew his name. And when I was starting out, my boss, JD Penn, who's the boss of all bosses, as I call him, he was like, we need to get interviews with every single fighter on every single card. And that's what I did. Back in the day when I was the one-man show on BJPenn.com, that's what I did. And TJ Grant just happened to be one of those guys, and him and I have always stayed in touch ever since, and lo and behold, I've got to witness this guy's rise from welterweight obscurity to lightweight number one contender. And Benson Henderson is my friend too, but I really love a good story, and TJ has a good story, and plus I have a lot of history with him. I'm not saying he's gonna win. Benson Henderson, George, he's one of my homies too, but it's cool. I think TJ, it's good to see some fresh blood in the lightweight division. Definitely deserves a title shot, and what a humble guy, dude. I don't think it could happen to a better dude.
Yeah, both guys really deserve the spot they're in, and they've definitely worked hard, and and like you were saying, I don't even want to say like the people that didn't, it's only just people that didn't know his name, because honestly he had a lot of fights even before he went on this tear. He's got 26 professional fights. Even Anderson Silva, prior to his UFC run, he had a lot of fights.
Right.
They just didn't know who he was until he started knocking fools out left and right.
Even then, dude. He beat Matt Wyman before he beat Gray Maynard, and a lot of people still may not have known who TJ Grant was. But he like what Dana White said, and what everybody's saying is he's been like this like quiet killer. He's just been quietly moving up the ranks, and boom, he goes out there. He had to knock Gray Maynard out in the first round to get that title shot. Let me tell you something, George. I fully believe that when the UFC said the winner of this fight gets a title shot, they meant when Gray Maynard wins this fight, he gets a title shot. I believe that that's what they meant. I don't believe that they planned on promoting TJ Grant, but I believe when TJ knocked out Gray Maynard in the first round, they had no choice but to give it to him, because they had already made that in the number one contender fight. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. In fact, I would go further to say that their plan was, if Gray can win by whatever he wants, decision, split decision, and he'll get title shot.
Yeah.
However, TJ has to pretty much fatality Gray Maynard if he wants to win, and that's exactly what he did.
Dude, that's exactly what he did.
And that's why he's the number one contender for that title.
If he wouldn't have done that, if he would have won by decision, he probably wouldn't be booked against Benson Henderson right now. That's the facts, dude. The UFC likes to call these number one contender matchups, but really what they mean is we're favoring this guy to win. If he wins, he gets a title shot. If this other dude wins, it's not guaranteed. You know what I mean?
It's fucking nonsense, because we know that from Machida and Dan Henderson that is just simply not the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So title shots are at discretion and can change by the hour.
Yep.
So an hour before the event, you can be told one thing, and by the end of the post-fight press conference, the plan has changed.
Yep.
So,
and we could have got TJ on first, man. I know he's been doing a lot of interviews, and that kind of sucks for us, right? We took last week off. He
texted you
right
the day
before
after the win.
No, right before his fight.
It was right before the fight. It was right there, and he said, "I'll see next week."
Yeah, he was like, "Let's do the interview next show. Let's do my post-fight win interview next show," or something like that. Right before his fight, dude. On
it would
fight
have been
day.
3 days later.
Yeah, it would have been 3 days later. I mean, if we aired on Mondays, we could have got it, but we took last week off.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a break.
Well, like I said, it's there's there's other stuff going on behind the scenes, and we just need to get some stuff done. But yeah, we're back, and I think we had an awesome show.
Dude, Dan Lauzon blew my mind, bro. I'm sorry. I want to call him up right now and just keep talking to him. Like, so what about another fight? What about another street fight? Can you tell us about that?
Well, and I was saying this while you were getting TJ on the line, was that he had brought up the street fighting thing, and I just simply was like, well, he brought up street fighting. So what's one? Listen, you've been in a couple. I've been in a couple. I know the ones that stick out in my head. So I know. As a guy, he's gonna have one to stick out in his head, and of course, it's the one where somebody stabbed him.
Yeah. Okay, so how many dudes are gonna listen to that and tell a girl that to try to impress them? So I was walking down this alley, and there was 10 or 12 dudes.
Yeah. Dan Lauzon is the only one that actually legitimately actually happened with. Everyone else is full of shit.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Dan Lauzon, that's a guy with a knife with 10 or 12 buddies, and the guy with the knife was knocked unconscious. The dude that got stabbed went and had a pro fight the month later, probably.
It goes to show you, man. It goes to show you that out of all the tough guys out there, you could be a badass SOB on the street. Don't fuck with the UFC fighter. I'm going to tell you this, man, and I am not going to drop names, but I was in a city, and I won't even say what city.
I know exactly who you're talking about. I'm not going to drop a name either. But
yeah, I have to be discretionary here. Okay, but I was in. Okay, I'll say the city because it makes more. It kind of adds to the story. I was in Columbus, Ohio, and that's where they have the Arnold Sports Classic, the Arnold Sports Festival, where all the big buff steroid users, they join together once a year to show how vascular they are and to promote their supplements and all that stuff, right? Like girls and dudes, like girls that make Cyborg look like a bitch. You know what I mean? Like they're all there. But so all these buff dudes, they're walking around, they take over the city, and it just so happens that Strikeforce was in town for the same show. Okay. Now, the only hint I'm gonna give is this is
Don't give any further than that.
I'm gonna give this hint. The only hint I'll give is this. This is a fighter who has actually been on our show before. Okay, and one of my boys, and he wasn't fighting on the card in Strikeforce. He doesn't fight for Strikeforce, but he was in town, and we party. Okay, like. We were partying that week, all week, pretty much, going to all the Arnold Sports Classic stuff, the boxing matches, everything. We had behind the scenes access. The owner, the Arnold Schwarzenegger's partner in that whole show, was like totally giving us the VIP treatment. Long story short, okay, and I know I'm getting rambling here. We were at a club. We were at this like slap bar / club thing, and 3 big jacked up swole buff dudes started talking shit to my boy, who happens to be a professional MMA fighter that has been on this show, mind you, so he's high level, okay? Not like a regional dude, like somebody who's like really legit, and he happens to be a small guy, okay?
Even a regional dude will whoop that ass.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, okay? So the 3 huge buff, steroided, freaked out dudes come up and they start talking shit, and they're ready to scrap. My boy seriously ducked under every single punch. You're talking 6 fists coming at him. Dunked under all the punches and knocked all 3 of them out unconscious, cold, in the street. It's amazing, So tough guys beware, dude. You know what I mean? Don't go picking fights with the UFC fighter just because you're on the juice and you think you're tough.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I remember when it happened.
Yeah.
I remember exactly when it happened, and it actually sticks out in my head every time I talk to the guy.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
How can it not, right?
I just remember it. I just remember. Anyway, since it's like childish to keep on talking about for the thing without dropping the name, but yeah, it was.
Yeah, and it's not BJ Penn. Let's just get that straight. It's not BJ's a known Street Fighter. I wouldn't have to censor his name out to talk about a street fight with BJ because everybody knows BJ.
No, we're not referring to BJ.
Yeah, BJ scraps. Yeah.
But yeah, the street fighting story with Dan Lauzon was that was actually it was really interesting. And again, I wasn't trying to ask him specifically about that incident. I simply was asking about a street fighting story.
Yeah.
Of course, the most natural one would be the one where he got stabbed and was fighting 10 or 12 dudes. So
I like how we adapted the 10 or 12 motto too. We're like, yeah, it was 10 or 12.
Yeah, well, he said it was 10 or 12.
Not 11, not 9, not 13, but it was 10 or 12, something like that.
10 to 12. He means he got a solid head count of that. Like, as they approached, because he didn't even see one of the other guys because he got stabbed. He didn't even know he got stabbed. That's how tough that guy
Well,
is.
adrenaline, bro. You ain't gonna feel that. You're not gonna feel. I mean, unless it was like in your liver or something, or in your stomach.
Adrenaline didn't work for the other guy because he got knocked out. Dan got stabbed. Dan proceeded to plant him on the concrete. Well, it's pretty crazy. Dan definitely keeps it real, and it was cool to have him on. I love the Lauzon brothers, man. I love the way they fight, and hopefully Dan keeps his streak going, and we can see him having the same sort of success his brother had in the UFC because I think he's got it in him, man. He's definitely like born fighter for sure.
Yep, he is. Those guys are cool. I would really love to get Joe on, and as much as I talk to Joe, okay, everybody knows the history with BJ and Joe. They were on The Ultimate Fighter. Joe went out to Hawaii, trained a lot with BJ and all that stuff, and that kind of relationship rubbed off on me a little bit, where Joe kind of respects what we do on BJPen.com. I haven't been able to get him on the show. I don't know why. I text him every single week, like, you want to come on the show, and anytime I really talk about the show, he kind of ignores me, which is weird, but whatever. But if we just talk about BS, he's like quick to respond. Like, I'm like, yo, look at World of Warcraft, level 32, buddy, what's up? And he's like, yeah, homie, I'm a 45. Get on my level. But when it comes to the interviews, he just doesn't want to do it. I don't know. He said our last radio show host kind of rubbed him the wrong way, and he didn't really like it. And I keep telling him, like, dude, it's my show now. It's me and George are on the show. It's not those old guys anymore. You don't have to worry about the douchiness. He said they sounded too much like fans, and it was a really terrible interview, the worst interview he'd ever done, and all this craziness. So I was just like, ouch. I'm really sorry, dude. But that ain't gonna happen again.
Yeah.
Speaking of old hosts and new hosts, we do have a new host on our Monday night show, Late Night K-Side. We call him Kinch. He goes by his first name's Jason, but we call him Kinch. He's a bad AMOFO, right? Is that how I say it? If you want
to be nice, you can say it like that.
Yeah, bad AMOFO. He's a good host.
Mm-hmm.
Chase is still on the show. But Tony Camps, unfortunately, had to leave us. So Tony's no longer with the BJPen.com crew, but we have a great replacement for him. I think a better replacement, in Kinch. And so everybody tune in on Monday nights. That's 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It's Late Night K-Side on BJPen.com. And then Sunday, our Sunday crew, as always, I can't mention the one show without mentioning the other. It's Fisticuff Radio with Anton Skoro. And Anton Skoro is the next Ariel Helwani, people, okay? But he's not going to be on Fuel TV or anything like that, but he's going to take over the MMA Worlds Online any minute now. He's the man. So they go live every Sunday on BJPen.com too. Anything else, George?
No, man. I think we killed it today, man.
We did good.
I think we definitely got a lot, and we came back pretty hard this time. We took a week off, but we We made up for it this week.
It was our first show without a full UFC roster. You know, we normally get these UFC guys on. We supported another promotion this week. I believe in diversity in MMA, and it's important to have other promotions. Speaking of other promotions, and I'll keep rambling, there is a promotion in the Bay Area that's new. It's called Arise FC, and they're competing MMA in a ring, not a cage. I don't know what the rules are, but I would venture to say there are probably no elbows on the ground because the guy running the show is Rich Chu, the former Strikeforce matchmaker that put on all those historic fights. He's the man responsible for the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix. He's the man responsible for the Josh Thompson and Gilbert Melendez trilogy. You know, he knows how to put together entertaining fights, and he has a new promotion, Arise FC, in the Bay Area. They're going to be putting out their first show this month. Check out bjpen.com. We have all the updates on Arise FC, and I do believe we're going to be giving away some free tickets for that event. So anybody in the Bay Area listening, you definitely want to check it out. It's actually it's a mixed event with Muay Thai fights and MMA matches. And like I said, it's the homie Rich. He's definitely going to put on some fights, and we're going to be the only place to get some free tickets on bjpen.com.
Yeah, Rich definitely is responsible for putting on some of the best fights. So you guys check it out.
In MMA history, not just like in Strikeforce, but like in MMA history, this dude knows how to match him up. So
yeah, heavily involved. You guys check it out. You know.
What else do we have? Anything else? I'm trying to think. I feel like I had another announcement. Athletic Greens. You know, last time we were saying we were gonna talk about Athletic Greens on our last show, which was now 2 weeks ago, and we completely skipped over it, bro, and we didn't even touch on them. Have you got your greens yet, George?
I got my greens. I'm very happy that I got them. Can't tell you how happy I am that I got the Athletic Greens, okay? I get pissed off when I don't have them, dude. I don't know what it is about them, but I'm way happier in the morning when I take them, and I feel way better.
What I love about this product is we've been under their umbrella. They've been sponsoring us for about 2 months now, right? I would say close to 2 months. Our listeners and our readers on bjpen.com have been buying. And not only have they been buying, but they have been reordering. Okay? Yes, really. And because of that, I think it's a true testament to the quality of this product. I believe that they're not just going to be one and done with us. They're going to continue to sponsor us because they're happy with the results. So to all our listeners, to all our readers on bjpen.com, thank you very much for supporting our sponsor. I know it's a good product. George, you know it's a good product. So whatever they're doing over there is working. And if you haven't had a chance to check them out yet, just go to athleticgreens.com/teambjpen. That's athleticgreens.com/teambjpen. You can learn all about the product, our endorsement, other athletes' endorsements of it. You have health nuts, nutritionists, everybody endorses this product, and it's an amazing, amazing supplement, not only for the active athlete, but for people for everyday use and the normal people, just for your mind and your energy and your body all around. It's just an awesome deal.
Yeah, I can't even explain it. And again, I've said it before, and I've told it to you off the air, and and whatever. We've had it in numerous conversations, but I've taken a lot of supplements. I train a lot. How much I train. I train a lot.
Yeah.
And I've taken a lot of different supplements. I don't even consider this a supplement. It's not a supplement. It's a green formula. But I had really I'll be honest with you. I had it sitting on my counter, and I didn't touch it for a while because I just I figured I've tried so many different things, and then finally I cracked it open, and I read on the internet how it said to wait a few try it, wait for a few days. I tried it, immediately felt like I had this sort of non-artificial energy. But I just was like, okay, that was okay. Then the second day I took it, I don't know what it was, but it makes you feel awesome. It just makes you want to get your day going. I don't even know how to explain it. I don't drink caffeine, So this is coming from somebody who doesn't drink anything but water and coconut water and what comes in the athletic greens. That's it. So I can tell you firsthand, without with just taking that it really does like bust your energy levels out. And I train like 3 hours a day too. So,
but it's not like 5-hour energy, like you're
No.
not like you're cracked out type of energy.
Like I said, I don't take any caffeine, man.
Yeah.
So I know I wouldn't be able to handle it. I don't even drink soda, nothing. So, the whatever is in there, like, it just gives you, it's like a non-artificial feeling type of energy. I don't even know how to explain it. Makes you feel good. It's weird. But whatever is in it and whatever does it, it works. And it's one of the supplements that I would not be able to live without right now. It's just, when I ran out, man, what was I doing? Texting you, like, I was texting you like he was a crack dealer or something. It was ridiculous. That's what I felt like when I was texting him. I was like, I feel like I'm some sort of junkie hitting a guy up for some drugs or something like that. It's ridiculous. I'm like looking, where's my vegetables at? It sounds like nonsense, but I could just say everyone just give it a shot because, whether you train or not, I'm telling you, it really is a game changer. So, yeah, anyway, that's my rant as far as that's concerned, but I think we pretty much covered it all today. We'll try to talk about it at the beginning of the show next time, but...
Yeah, I kind of liked having the 30 minutes up front for us to just BS and talk and kind of, settle into the show before we started having guests on. That was nice, because I normally book this thing solid,
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. So, yeah, we can talk about it next week. I don't know, man. I think I'm done, bro. Do you have anything else?
Nah, we're good, man. Let's just wrap it up. Let's get cue up Bert.
Cue up Mr. Watson. Okay. Let's do it. Alright, guys. Thanks for listening tonight. If you missed any part of the show, we will have the archive up on bjpen.com. Probably, if not tonight, first thing in the morning, as well as the transcripts of every interview. It was some good stuff, so check it out. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Alright, baby. Time to roll. Time to roll to the hole. We rollin'! Yeah! This is what we do and why we do it. And nobody does it any better than we do. It's your night, your fight, so get it right, baby.